Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how to make my delicious homemade apple-filled cinnamon rolls from scratch. This recipe makes about 12 large cinnamon rolls filled with apple filling. As you can see, they are pretty big. It's soft, moist, and absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all you'll need to make your homemade apple-filled cinnamon rolls. Let's get started with our ingredients. You'll need 3 pounds and 6 ounces in weight. That's 5 large red apples. You will also need some all-purpose flour, sugar, salt, instant yeast, unsalted butter, whole milk at room temperature, large eggs at room temperature, vanilla extract, butter extract, cinnamon, allspice, and some confectioner sugar. And for your tools, you will need some parchment paper, a rolling pin, a pastry brush, and I forgot to mention, this is your additional tools. You will also need a food processor, some aluminum foil, and to bake your apples, you will need a regular standard 9 by 13 inch glass or metal pan. And to bake your cinnamon rolls, you will need an 11 by 17 inch baking pan. And there we have it. Alright, let's get straight to it. We're going to get started by rinsing our apples off with cold water. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375 degrees. Here I have a regular standard 9 by 13 inch baking pan. I'm going to line the bottom of the baking pan with aluminum foil. Place the apples into the baking pan. Now they are ready to be baked. Place this into a preheated 375 degree oven on the middle rack. Bake this for 35 to 40 minutes. It's been about 40 minutes now. Let's remove this out of the oven. How to tell if the apples are done? If you take your finger and you press onto each apple, it should be really soft. You can also take a large fork and you can insert it into each apple real easy. That lets you know that the apples are done. Let the apples cool completely. Take a serrated knife and cut each apple into quarter pieces. Trim off the core of the apple off of each quarter piece. Take a spoon and dig out the insides of the apple and place it into a shallow bowl. Okay, let's get started with pureeing our apples. In this large food processor, add the apple insides right on in there. You can also use a blender as well. Blend this for 2 minutes. Alright, that looks good. Once done, you should have 2 2/3 cups of the apple filling after you pureed the apples. The filling's weight should be 1 pound and 9 ounces in weight. Alright, let's get started with making our cinnamon roll dough. In our stand mixer bowl, add 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 2 1/2 teaspoons of instant yeast, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Stir all your ingredients together until combined. I've placed my mixing bowl onto my stand mixer base and I fitted it with the dough hook attachment. Add 1 cup of warm whole milk. The temperature of the milk should be about 115 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 stick of melted unsalted butter, and 2 large eggs at room temperature. Mix this on a medium-low speed or according to your instructions on your stand mixer's manual on mixing doughs for 5 minutes. Now when I touch the dough might be a little sticky. Don't worry about that. That is normal. Lightly flour the surface of your table. Add the dough on top of the table. Add some flour onto your hands. Knead the dough for about 3 to 4 minutes. If the dough is sticky, you just take some of the flour that you added from the surface of your table and combine it into the dough using your hands. Now I'm going to form this into a ball. Let the dough rest for 20 minutes. Alright, let's get started with making our cinnamon sugar mixture. In a small bowl, add a half a cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Stir all your ingredients together until combined. Here I have 1 tablespoon of softened unsalted butter. Spread the butter along the bottom and the sides of the baking pan with your hand. Align a sheet of parchment paper into the bottom of the baking pan. This is going to provide a non-stick surface for our cinnamon rolls. It's been about 20 minutes now. Take your hands and press the dough down. This is going to release the gases caused by the yeast. As I'm pressing the dough down, I'm going to carefully form it into a rectangle. I'm going to lightly sprinkle just a little bit more flour onto the surface of my table and on top of the dough itself. Roll the dough into a 23-inch long by 16-inch wide rectangle using the rolling pin. Here I have 4 tablespoons, that's a half a stick, of melted unsalted butter with a pastry brush. Brush the butter onto the dough. Careful not to get any butter or filling onto the outer edge of the dough. We're using that portion of the dough to create a seal. Generously sprinkle the cinnamon sugar mixture on top of the dough. Take your apple filling and add it in spoonfuls on top of the dough. Take an offset spatula and spread the apple filling around the dough as evenly as possible. Take the cinnamon roll dough and roll the dough towards you. Be very gentle and very careful as you roll the dough towards you. Now, as you can see here, some of the filling has reached the opposite side and kind of spilled out just a little bit. Don't worry about that. We're going to create a seal. We're going to take our fingers and we're just going to press the edge of the dough together. Just as you see here. I've made some indentations onto the cinnamon roll dough. Each indentation is about 2 inches apart from each other. Take a serrated knife and gently cut into the dough. Each cinnamon roll piece should be about 2 inches tall. Take your cinnamon roll dough pieces and carefully align them into an 11 by 17 inch baking pan lined with the sheet of parchment paper. Okay, I've preheated my oven for about 2 minutes or until it's nice and warm. I'm going to add the pan with the cinnamon rolls in it into the oven. Make sure your oven is off. Let these rise for 25 minutes. Okay, it's been about 25 minutes now. Let's remove these cinnamon rolls from the oven. As you can see, the cinnamon rolls has risen beautifully. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375 degrees. Now they are ready to be baked. Place this into a preheated 375 degree oven on the middle rack. Bake this for 20 minutes. It's been about 20 minutes now for our cinnamon rolls. Remove this out of the oven. Let these cinnamon rolls cool for 15 minutes. In the meantime, let's make the icing. In this small bowl, add 1 1/4 cups of confectioner sugar, 3 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter, 3 tablespoons of warm whole milk, a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a half a teaspoon of butter extract, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, a very light sprinkle less than 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice, and a very light sprinkle of salt. Stir all your ingredients together with a whisk until the icing is creamy and smooth with no visible lumps. Take your icing and spread it on top of each individual cinnamon roll. The cinnamon rolls should still be warm. Let the icing set for about 5 minutes, and after that, the cinnamon rolls are ready to be served. And of course, for best results, you can serve these the very next day so that way the flavors can settle and increase overnight. Make sure you heat them up first before you eat them in a preheated 350 degree oven for about 5 minutes. Here is the final presentation. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Apple-filled cinnamon rolls, made from scratch by a New Orleans native. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. I have an official website for all of my recipes, including this one. Go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. Stay tuned as Charlie's Taste Test is coming up next. Can't wait. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. Now this is best served warm, don't ever serve it cold. This is it here. Yes. If you're looking for something to try during the fall with apples, this is it right here. I mean, the cinnamon roll is so soft, it melts in your mouth. It has a wonderful apple cinnamon flavor, and it got that glaze on top. I mean, delicious. All you have to do is try the recipe. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one. Peace.